Hey, shalom, Israel, Most High in Christ. Bless. Welcome to another edition of 15 Minutes with the Captain. I'm Captain Zab, and to my left I have...
Soldier Jedediah.
Today we're going to talk about how to build trust in a marriage, how to build trust in a household. So let's go to Psalms chapter 83 and verse 1. Come on.
The book of Psalms, chapter 83 and verse 1.
Yeah.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult.
So the enemies of the children of Israel made a tumult. Come on.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Go ahead.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So what they did was they set up crafty counsel against us. So this book right here is called The Willie Lynch and the Making of Slaves. So what they did when they set up this crafty counsel, this is one of the tools that they use to destroy the trust that we have in a marriage. It says this is page 18 of The Willie Lynch and the Making of a Slave. It says we reverse nature by burning and pulling one civilized nigga apart and bull whipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offsprings in reverse roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. So what they did was how they developed this distrust in marriage, this distrust that we have as the Israelite man and the Israelite woman, between the Hispanic man, the Hispanic woman, the black man, the black woman, the children of Israel in their marriage. How they did that was that they would tear the marriage apart. They would take this man, destroy him, and destroy his image, and that would cause the woman to say, you know what, I can't trust that man. He can't protect me. I cannot trust him. And that's what happened. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 36 and verse 25. This is currently why we don't trust each other. During the time of slavery, they tore down those barriers. They tore down that natural structure that we had in marriage. Come on.
The book of Sirach, chapter 36 and verse 25.
Yeah.
Where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled.
So where there is no hedge, the possession is spoiled. That's what they knew. They knew that if we destroy the image of the man, we can now destroy the possession that he has. This great woman, this woman of God, we can now destroy that. Let's go to the book of 1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 2. Because we can't forget the other side of this coin, right? Because, I don't want to put this all on the sisters. Us men, we do have a responsibility to build this trust as well. They can't just say, hey, we can't just sit up here and say, hey, y'all was destroyed in slavery. Now just trust us men. Nah, we do some stuff wrong to make us untrustworthy. Let's look at that. Come on, 1 Kings.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 2 and verse 2.
Yeah.
I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. And keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses.
So what we never learned was the way of a man. We never learned that. Since we never learned the way of a man from our fathers, guess what? We don't know how to be trustworthy. That message wasn't passed from father to son because the father was taken out and destroyed according to the Willie Lynch letters. They destroyed where a man would teach a son how to be a man, how to be a father, how to be a husband. Let's look at 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 3. These are reasons why we do not have trust. Come on.
The book of 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 3.
Yeah.
Talk no more so exceeding proud. Let not arrogancy come out of thy mouth, for the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed.
And what we tend to do, what we tend to lack as men, is our bark doesn't match our bite, right? We'll say one thing, but we don't finish it. We'll start something and we don't complete it. This is why we lack trust from our spouses. This is why you men lack trust from your wives. You say one thing and you don't finish it. Now she doesn't trust you because you said, honey, I'm going to get this done. Honey, I'm going to finish this. We're going to be here at A, B, C, and D at a point in our life. And then you didn't fulfill that thing. Now the trust is now destroyed. This is why we don't have trust in our marriage. Let's look at some examples of how that trust was destroyed. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3 and verse 4. Because at the beginning of the Bible, right, the bishop said all the time, right, the first attack on the Israelite man, the Israelite woman was on marriage. Let's look at it. Come on.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 4.
Yeah.
And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in that day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil.
So the first attack, like we said, was on the marriage, and that what happens in marriage sometimes is us as husband will say, hey, you need to do this. And that thing that you told her to do, or you might be encourage her to do, she don't trust it until somebody else say it. Or when somebody else say the opposite, she'd rather go with that counsel instead of the counsel of her husband because the trust is not there. This is an example of what trust isn't. This is what trust doesn't look like. Your husband says something, you should hold on to that and follow through on it. Let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 4, verse 13. Come on.
The book of 2 Ezra chapter 4 and verse 13.
Yeah.
He answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel and said, Come, let us go and make war against the sea.
So what's going on right here is Ezra is being a parable being given to him by him dealing with an angel, and this angel is saying, "Hey, these trees, they took counsel to go take over the sea." Now, how much sense does that make? But that's what's happening in your marriage a lot of times, where the rightful place and the rightful structure that you're supposed to have and the natural boundaries, the natural limitations, you want to exceed those things. Watch, it'll say it. Come on.
That it may depart away before us, and that we may make us more woods. The floods of the sea also like manner took counsel and said, Come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain.
So that doesn't make any sense. Why would the tree want to be in the place of the water want to be in the place of the tree? That doesn't make any sense. And instead of building a natural, strong ecosystem, they say, let's fight against each other. Come on.
That there also we may make us another country. The thought of the wood was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. The thought of the floods, the sea came likewise to naught. For the sand stood up and stopped them. So
the sand stood up and stopped it. So you got to understand what's happening. It's natural boundaries, natural limitations, natural strengths, natural weaknesses that they both have. But when they go against those things, they try to go into the other person's strengths and weaknesses. What happens is that you really don't get anything accomplished. That's what happens when that lack of trust is there, because that ecosystem works together. Also, why don't you look at yourself and look at what you're doing and say, you know what, this is not my place. It's not my area of strength. My husband might be better at this. My wife might be better at that. That's how you develop trust. You understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you will create that righteous ecosystem that you're supposed to have. Let's look at the book of Psalms chapter 1 and verse 1. Let's look at that. Come on.
The book of Psalms chapter 1 and verse 1.
Yeah.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree.
He should be like a what?
And he should be like a tree.
You got to understand. So a man that's walking in the ways of God is like a tree. Go ahead.
Planted by the rivers of water.
Yes.
That bringeth forth his fruit.
So see what happens when you have a tree that's in the rightful place doing what it's supposed to do, and the water's in the right place. What it's supposed to do. Read that again.
And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
Whatsoever he do shall prosper. When they both know their strengths and weaknesses, their natural limitations, they prosper when they work together. But instead, that trust, that resentment is there, that lack of trust is there. You can't get nothing, and you can't get nothing built. The ecosystem is destroyed, and that's what's going on in our marriages today because of the lack of trust. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 29. So what we want to do is we want to figure out some things we can do in order to build trust. Let's go to Proverbs 22, verse 29. Come on.
The book of Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 29.
Yeah.
Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men.
So what we're doing was bringing this thing back full circle, right? Like we talked about, being diligent in your business. These are things you can do to be trustworthy as a husband, as a wife. You can be trustworthy when you're diligent in your business. Let's go to Sirach chapter 25 and verse 1. Come on.
The book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1.
Yeah.
In 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agreed together.
So what you got to do is, and what you got to learn how to do in a marriage to develop that trust is to communicate. Communicate through the good and through the bad. You got to get able to communicate through that whole thing because you got to get to a point of agreement. And that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take work. It's going to take effort. But when y'all know each other's strengths and weaknesses, you can develop that trust. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 12. Things we can do to develop trust. Come on.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 12.
Yeah.
For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it.
So another thing you can do is develop trust in your marriage is create some type of financial stability, because that's what women need. They need and look for and yearn for financial stability. They want to feel safe. That's why they destroyed the male's image at the beginning, because he couldn't protect them. But it just told you money is a defense. So you as a husband, you have to develop some financial stability to earn and develop the trust of your wife. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 25. Come on.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 9 and verse 25.
Yeah.
And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible.
So what you got to also do in order to develop this trust is be temperate in all things. You don't want to come home from work all day and then you got displacement. You mad at work and you come home and you're mad at the wife and the kids because something pissed you off at work. Now you got to be temperate in all things. You got to be able to manage what's going on at home, what's going on in the body, what's going on at work, and you got to be able to manage all those things and be temperate, be even killed throughout all that thing. That's how you develop trust. Somebody that's stable. So, not somebody that's get upset and just go off, right? Let's look at Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 13.
The book of Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 13.
Yeah.
Till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ.
So that's another thing we can do is try to measure up to the fullness and the stature of Christ. This is how we develop trust. And what Christ did was what? He was diligent. He was on time. He was punctual. That's another thing you can do to develop trust is be on time. Don't be in the zone. What's that? CP time, right? Don't be in that thing. So like we said, right, these are things you can do to develop and create trust, right? You can be on time. You can develop financial stability. You can communicate through the good and through the bad. And you can also be diligent in all your things that you do. That means writing things down like we talked about in videos before. So with that, Israel, we're going to say shalom to you. Most High in Christ bless.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.